I think we're live. All right. Well, welcome back. We've had a little bit of a break here, and we're excited to come back. This is Pastor Matthew Best from St. Stephen Lutheran Church in New Kingstown. I have my daughter Emma here, which is why we're not socially distanced and not wearing masks because we breathe each other's oxygen all the time. I am excited to have with us today Crystal Hauser. Crystal is actually a member of St. Stephen Lutheran Church in New Kingstown, and we are excited to have you on here for this interview. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you very much, Pastor Matthew. It's nice to see you and Emma. I'm excited to be here, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for what you're doing to talk about the story of people experiencing homelessness. It's a very important story, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great. So we wanted to interview you a little bit about the truck stop ministry that the church has been doing. So maybe you can just give us a quick summary of up to before the pandemic. What was the truck stop ministry doing?
Well, the truck stop ministry started with an interaction with someone actually who was experiencing homelessness. And this person had taken up residence really in the pavilion of the church. And we had many great conversations with this gentleman. And one thing that he told us was there were people living in their vehicles just up the road at the truck stop near our church. And really, that's what started us to action. Pastor Matthew and myself went to speak with the general manager of one of those truck stops to discuss the situation with people experiencing homelessness and being located at the truck stop. And they were open to us beginning our ministry there. And so that's how we started. Prior to the pandemic, we would go there twice a month. We would assist participants with their laundry. Emma's here today because she was the laundry supervisor, and I'll let her speak in a moment. But we assisted participants with having clean laundry. We would share a meal together in the on-site restaurant. Pastor Matthew would do an element of worship. And we try to connect people with resources for assistance, such as sheltering, getting on the coordinated housing list, getting them in touch with Sadler Health for any medical issues that they might have. And really, our part as the church, we built community. And I'm going to ask Emma to chime in on anything she has to add.
Maybe, Emma, if you could talk to us a little bit about your experience of doing laundry with people who are experiencing homelessness. What was that like for you?
So doing laundry with these people was very interesting because they always had a lot of loads. Sometimes if it was just one person, they would just have one load to do. And then if it was like a whole family, we had a whole family there. And sometimes they had like up to 5 loads to do. And it was very interesting to see what all they obtained and what they wore. And it was very interesting because it was all hand-me-downs. None of it was really new because they had collected over the years. And so some of it was all raggedy, but it was still good to wear.
Yeah, and so I wanted to ask you, Crystal, before we get into how we've had to try and shift and adjust and kind of work through that. What is it about this that really kind of drew you into this kind of ministry?
I can't tell you exactly what it was, but I can tell you from the first moment that that gentleman told us there were people experiencing homelessness and living in their vehicles at the truck stop, really a mile or two away from our church. I felt like I had to run to the truck stop. I just felt called to do this. And even as we started connecting with people, it was hard to define because what were we doing there? What can we do there? We're a small church. Like, what is our place? And we are the church. So primarily, I felt that our message was to spread God's message of grace and forgiveness. Um, you might feel forgotten. You might feel like nobody sees you in the community, but God has not forgotten you. And I feel like that was our primary mission in starting. But then, as you know, once we got started, the people we came in contact with, they have a lot of needs. And our part is vital to this community, but we needed help. And the partnership within the community with different resources, this has been invaluable.
Yeah, wonderful. Emma, how about you? What drew you into this?
Well, my dad had been going since the beginning because he was the one that started this with Crystal. And so he talked about it a few times after coming back. And so then I was like, I want to see what it's about. So I went the first time. And then after that, I kept going back every time because I loved what was going on. I loved the energy that was happening. And I felt like it was something that I should be doing and helping with.
That's
and
great.
I just want to add that Emma has been just such an important part of this ministry because we do have families with children, and having Emma there as a person that can connect with the children, it's a really big part of us forming our community.
So I want to ask you this question because a lot of folks, when they think about homelessness, they have a lot of perceptions, right? And maybe somebody is tuning in who isn't as in tune with all the things that go on with homelessness. So I just want to ask you, if you could address just one misperception that people have about homelessness, what would you say about it? That maybe there's something that people might not understand, and maybe just share like, okay, here's the reality based on your experience of encountering people who are experiencing homelessness.
I think one big perception about people experiencing homelessness is they don't work. And some of our participants, they have full-time jobs. And the reason they're experiencing homelessness could be something, a common story is they were living in an apartment, the building was sold, and so they were able to manage the month-to-month rent and their utility bills, but they don't have what it takes for first and last month's rent and security deposit. So that's what I would say. There are people experiencing homelessness that have jobs.
Right. Emma, how about you? A misperception that you think a lot of folks have, and because of your encounters with folks, what would you say about one of those misperceptions?
I don't know what to think about. But something that maybe I would think about is that the homelessness people are really like needy and really begging and really trying to just nag people about getting stuff, but that's not at all how they're like. Some of the people don't even like to ask for help. Some of them like to stay on their own and don't want to bother people. And whenever they do get help, sometimes they might even feel bad because they're not used to it and they're not used to the situation, and they feel like they have to do something back for you whenever you're helping, even though they don't need to help you with, they don't need to give back to you because we're the ones helping them. And so we're happy to help them because they're the ones in need.
Great. So Crystal, let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges, especially in the midst of the pandemic. We haven't been able to go back over to the truck stop because of the pandemic and social distancing, and the restaurant that we were utilizing hadn't been serving. And so if you could just kind of talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we're facing and some of the ideas going forward in order to continue to be in community with these folks.
Well, this time has been very difficult for our ministry because we are, a major part of our mission is building community. But the good part about our relationship that we had prior to the pandemic is we have contact information for everyone who had been in our community. We do keep in constant contact, not only to check in on if they need food resources or anything else, but just to check in, like how are you doing, and to see what their job status are, if their hours were cut and whatnot. So moving forward, things are going to be different. But we had a meeting last week and we were discussing how can we carry this ministry forward during this pandemic. And we're going to have to meet potentially to start in a location that is not at the truck stop. But as I said, we do have strong connections with our participants. I'm hoping if we change to an outdoor location, we'll figured out that we should be able to continue accepting new participants, continuing with intake to see what resources each of our participants require, and our relationships with our nonprofit resources should still be able to attend and provide the assistance that they provide.
That's great. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about some of your hopes for the ministry long term. I know a lot of times we really get to know the folks, right? I mean, this is one of the things that, to answer my own question of misperceptions, one of the biggest things that I find to be most important when I'm working with somebody who's experiencing homelessness, very first thing is to ask somebody's name, because that humanizes. It's not a homeless person. It's somebody who has a name. They have a story. They have there's a background. There's a reason why they're in their situation, and there's a whole lot of things. And people are messy and they're complicated. Whether they're homeless or whether they're housed, they are messy and complicated and broken, just in different ways, right? And so I'm wondering, maybe you can speak kind of past this initial phase, whenever we're able to figure out whatever this looks like. For long term, what do you hope for this ministry long term?
I have a lot of thoughts and dreams for this ministry, but one of the great parts of this ministry for us at St. Stephen is we have really been able to be a part of the conversation of homelessness in our community. And we've been able to join together with a lot of the resources because I think that no one organization that we are associated with can solve the problem of homelessness. So I think that we need to pool our resources. As we all know, there are many systemic changes that need to happen within the community. I just want to be a part of advocating for change so that the systemic issues that are causing people to experience homelessness can lessen. And I hope our ministry grows, and I hope we are able to provide the opportunity for our participants to change their lives if they choose to.
Emma, any thoughts on long term with the ministry?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it.
That's okay.
I'm just in the moment in the future.
That's
but I'm
all
in
right.
the moment right now. So,
That's okay. So, Crystal, I want to ask you this question. We decided to do this kind of, as you mentioned, because we had this encounter with somebody, and there's truck stops all over the place. And whether somebody, I'm just thinking, right from the very beginning, we always said one of our hopes is that it inspires other people to take action, whether that's launching their own truck stop ministry or doing something else. Do you have any advice for folks that, they know that there's folks that are homeless that are near them, maybe in a truck stop, maybe somewhere else? Do you have any advice for these folks as far as going forward and just doing something?
I think it's as easy as getting in a car and heading to the truck stop. And Pastor Matthew, you know that very well. The first day we drove to the truck stop and we were not sure what we would encounter. But I think that the people in the community have the best intentions for others. And I think that if you get in the car and just make a start, it's already half the battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember that first time we went to the truck stop. We asked where the manager on duty was. I was wearing my collar because I figured it was safer and nobody's going to yell at us. And we waited in line to get to the manager, who was working the counter, right? And it was like 5 o'clock on a Thursday or Friday afternoon. And so we knew we had like 20 seconds with them. And so it was the manager on duty, and we said, we'd like to talk with somebody about the folks who are homeless who are using your facility. That was the whole pitch. And he looked at us and said, yeah, that's getting to be a problem. Here's the general manager. And it just went from there. And if I'm just going to jump onto what you said, it's just go. Worst thing that happens is they kick you out, and then you figure out, right. And then you figure out plan B and you go forward from there. So, yeah, absolutely. Crystal, do you have any last thoughts about homelessness, about the ministry, or anything that you just feel compelled that you want to share right now?
I feel such compassion for the people experiencing homelessness. I'll just share one small story that really helped us define where we were heading with this ministry and how we needed to partner with other community resources. And when we began, we encountered a family with 5 children, and they were living in their van. And 3 of them were like toddlers. And they had been through what we were talking about. Their building had been sold, so they lost their apartment. They couldn't afford first and last month's rent and security deposit. And I just remembered, before we really knew what we were doing, this family, it was really rainy that spring or summer. I can't even remember when that was. But they sent me a photo of the tent that they were staying in at a local campground. And it was in the middle of a lake of water because it had been raining so hard. And I was horrified. And what can we do? And right then and there, I was like, we need relationships with other people that can help. And so really, that was the defining moment for what went forward in our ministry.
That's awesome, and I remember that well. And the best thing about all of that is those folks have been able to get into housing, and they have become a part of the ministry on the other end of it. I mean, this is just incredible. It's such an inspiration, and so we are just grateful for that family. We're grateful that we were able to try and connect them and to be able to help them, but then how much they were able to help us as well, and that's a big part of it. Emma, do you have anything you want to share? Any stories or anything, thoughts about the truck stop ministry or homelessness?
Not very much. I mean, it can be a fun thing to do if you are careful and you are aware of what is going on. So you can have some laughs and some good times, but you have to remember that you're there to help people that are in a serious situation. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to help them the best that you can, because you can't always help them in a way that they need. So you just try and help them the way that you can, the best way that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really, both of you spoke to the idea of partnerships as well. I mean, we couldn't do this without our partners that we have, whether it's with the county services or Sadler Health or Community Cares. A lot of these folks we're also going to be doing interviews with during our time. And we've got some folks here actually with us who are staying with us here and socially distanced, of course. But they're a huge help, and we're grateful for those partnerships. Well, Crystal, I just want to thank you so much for coming on, talking about the ministry. Is there, I'm going to let you say if there's some way that people want to support the ministry, the Truck Stop ministry that we do, or if people want more information about it, what's the best way for them to find that out or offer that support?
If anybody would like to assist with our ministry, that would be great. And you can do so by contacting St. Stephen Lutheran Church in New Kingstown. Any donation should be sent in that direction, just with a memo, Truck Stop Ministry, and it will get where it's supposed to help people who are experiencing homelessness.
And our website, just so everybody has it, is www.ststephenlc.org. So that's STSTEPHENLC.org. But people can search for St. Stephen Evangelical Lutheran Church, New Kingstown on Facebook, and you can search on Google as well. All right. Well, thank you very much, Crystal. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you, Emma, for what you do also with the Truck Stop Ministry and all the other ways that you do service. Both of you I just don't have the words to express how grateful I am to be partners in ministry with both of you. So thank you very much. Be well. And we'll be back here in less than 10 minutes with our next interview, which is going to be Operations Veterans Hope, and we have Karen Reed with us. All right, thanks everybody.